Have you ever noticed that when you start to change for real, the people around you begin to feel deeply uncomfortable? They don't speak openly about it, of course. They'll disguise their unease with jokes, with advice masked as concern, or with that awkward silence when you talk about something deeper. But what's really happening beneath the surface is simple. Your mental evolution threatens their comfort zone, and no one likes being forced to confront their own complacency. Perhaps you're experiencing this right now. You've started to think differently, act with more conviction, maybe even question things you once accepted without a second thought, and suddenly you've begun to feel alone, misunderstood, even targeted by those who used to support you. Friends who once seemed encouraging now seem distant or critical. Family members who used to celebrate your achievements now seem threatened by your growth. What no one told you, and what Friedrich Nietzsche understood better than anyone, is that this isolation is the inevitable price of building true mental strength. Not just any kind of strength, but a strength so intense, so uncompromising, that it makes others uncomfortable just by existing. It shocks them because it exposes, without saying a word, the weakness of those who still live on autopilot, who still bend to every social pressure, who still seek validation from every direction. But why does this happen? Because a truly powerful mind is a threat to collective mediocrity. When you decide to think for yourself, create your own standards, and abandon the comfortable illusion of ready-made truths, you become dangerous. Dangerous to the system that depends on your compliance. Dangerous to others who need you to remain small so they don't have to grow. And most importantly, dangerous to your former self. The version of you that settled for less, that accepted limitations as permanent, that believed your worth was determined by others' opinions. This video is not for those who want easy answers or comfortable lies. It's not for those who are satisfied with surface-level motivation or temporary inspiration. This is for you who are tired of being a hostage to your own insecurities, who feel on the brink of an internal revolution, and who are ready to build something that no one can destroy. A mind that no one can manipulate, a presence that commands respect without demanding it, a strength so shocking that it fundamentally changes how others see and treat you. So if you feel ready for this path, a lonely, brutal, but absolutely transformative journey, stay with me. Because what Nietzsche has to teach you will confront everything you thought you knew about strength, but it can also set you free. And after this, you will never think the same way again. The Forge of Unbreakable Minds. Nietzsche was not just a philosopher, he was a surgeon of the human soul, someone who had the courage to look into the abyss of existence and not only face it, but dive headfirst into its depths. And it is precisely in that abyss, in that inner chaos that most people spend their entire lives avoiding, that he discovered the source of true mental strength. For Nietzsche, it is not in peace, stability, or comfort that a human being transforms into something unbreakable. It is in pain. It is in crisis. It is in the moments when everything falls apart and you're forced to rebuild yourself with nothing but your own will and determination. He wrote, "You need to have chaos inside you to give birth to a dancing star." This is not poetic metaphor. This is psychological diagnosis. It means that if you want to build mental strength so powerful it shocks people, you need to abandon the childish idea that it will happen through comfort, cheap motivation, or positive affirmations scrolled on social media. True strength is born when you face suffering without fleeing. When you stop asking for life to be easier and start demanding that you become stronger. When you stop seeking rescue from your circumstances and start becoming the person who creates their own solutions. Think about the moments in your life when you grew the most. Was it when everything was going perfectly, when you felt safe and comfortable? Or was it when you were shattered, lost, directionless, forced to rebuild yourself from the ground up with nothing but your own inner resources? Nietzsche believed that suffering was not a mistake of existence, but rather its main driving force. He didn't romanticize pain or seek it out masochistically. He faced it as a tool of transformation, understanding that every crisis contains within it the raw materials for becoming something far greater than you were before. If you can change your relationship with pain, with failure, with uncertainty, with crisis, You begin to forge something rare in this world, an indomitable spirit, a mind that doesn't break under pressure but becomes harder, more resilient, more dangerous, a consciousness that doesn't seek escape from reality but learns to dominate it. And it is precisely at this point that the world begins to be disturbed by you. Because while most people flee from chaos, you learn to walk calmly within it. While others beg for normalcy and predictability, you create excellence from uncertainty and challenge. While they seek comfort, you forge character. This transformation requires a brutal break with everything you were taught about what strength actually looks like. Being mentally strong is not about smiling all the time or maintaining fake emotional control. Being shocking in your strength is not about being loud or aggressive. True strength is about enduring the unbearable and emerging on the other side not just intact, but more formidable than before. The birth of radical self-reliance. But Nietzsche knew that chaos by itself is not enough. You can be destroyed by it if you don't have an inner center, an unshakable core. And this is where his most revolutionary insight comes in. The recognition that you must become the primary source of your own strength, validation, and direction. Most people live their entire lives seeking external validation. They need others to tell them they're good enough, smart enough, worthy enough. They constantly look outside themselves for permission to be who they are, for approval of their choices, for confirmation that they're on the right path. But what Nietzsche proposes is the opposite: radical self-reliance. The understanding that you are alone in the deepest sense, not abandoned or isolated, but fundamentally responsible for creating your own meaning, your own standards, your own sense of worth. This recognition is both terrifying and liberating. It's terrifying because it means you can no longer blame others for your circumstances, your emotional state, or your lack of progress. But it's liberating because it means you are no longer dependent on others for your sense of self-worth, your happiness, or your direction in life. When you truly understand that no one is coming to rescue you from your problems, something profound awakens within you. A fire ignites that compels you to rise even while bleeding. A strength emerges that forces you to think for yourself, feel for yourself, because you decided it aligned with your own vision and values. This is what creates the shocking mental strength that Nietzsche wrote about. It's not built on the opinions of others, so it can't be shaken by criticism or rejection. It doesn't need external approval to maintain its integrity, so it remains stable even when everyone around you is unstable. It is completely self-sufficient, feeding on its own inner fire rather than depending on others' validation. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, who faced plagues, wars, and betrayals while leading an empire, understood this principle. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. But Nietzsche went even further. He realized that this power over your mind is not just helpful, it's absolutely essential for anyone who wants to build strength that truly shocks people. The Übermensch, beyond ordinary limitations. This leads us to Nietzsche's most famous concept, the Übermensch or Overman. This is not about becoming a superhero or developing mystical powers. The Übermensch is a human being who has overcome everything that binds ordinary people. The need for external validation, herd morality, the compulsion to fit in, the fear of standing alone with their convictions. The Übermensch does not seek to be accepted. Acceptance is irrelevant to someone who validates themselves completely. He does not ask for permission to exist. His existence is self-justified. He creates his own internal laws and lives by them, even if that puts him in opposition to the entire world. And that is exactly why his mind becomes so shockingly strong, because it is not built on the shifting sands of others' opinions. This self-sufficiency feeds on what Nietzsche called the will to power, not power over others, but power over oneself. The deep, driving impulse to shape your reality according to your own vision, rather than adapting yourself endlessly to others' expectations. This is the crucial shift that creates shocking mental strength. The Übermensch does not adapt to the world. He imposes his own meaning upon the world. He does not seek comfort. He seeks greatness. He does not ask, is this socially acceptable? He asks, is this worthy of who I am becoming? And this fundamental change in perspective transforms everything about how you think, act, and respond to life's challenges. But becoming this kind of being requires sacrifice that most people are not willing to make. You will have to kill parts of yourself that still beg for others' approval. You will have to face the pain of not belonging to any group that would limit your growth. You will have to bear the weight of building your identity from scratch, without guarantees, without encouragement from those who prefer you to remain as you were. Most people cannot handle this level of psychological independence. They give up before they truly begin. They run back to the safety of ready-made beliefs, popular opinions, and rules that someone else wrote for them. They choose the comfort of belonging over the power of becoming. The path to becoming the Übermensch is inevitably lonely, and Nietzsche knew this intimately. He himself lived on the margins of society, misunderstood, called mad, isolated from the world he was trying to liberate through his philosophy. But it was in that isolation that he found his freedom. It was in that solitude that he developed the mental strength that made his ideas unshakable. The necessary solitude of strength. If there's something that no one tells you about building truly shocking mental strength, it's this. The stronger you become, the more alone you will feel. And it's not because you choose to isolate yourself out of arrogance or superiority. It's because the world genuinely doesn't know what to do with someone who can't be controlled, manipulated, or broken by social pressure. Nietzsche spoke clearly about this reality. The free spirit, the one who breaks away from conventional thinking, who doesn't accept easy answers, who thinks independently, inevitably distances themselves from what he called the herd. And that distancing is painful. But that pain is absolutely necessary because real growth requires space, and you cannot grow while remaining tied to others' limitations and expectations. Most people live within an invisible herd mentality where every thought is policed by social pressure, every action is measured by others' reactions, every decision is filtered through the question, what will people think? You've become accustomed to walking in a group, thinking like the group, feeling secure because there are people around you who validate your choices and reflect your beliefs back to you. But what Nietzsche proposes is the opposite. He tears you away from that false comfort and throws you into what he called the desert, the space of radical solitude where you must face yourself without the buffer of others' opinions, without the comfort of belonging, without the safety of consensus. In that desert, there are no applause, no praise, no external validation. There's only you, your doubts, your fears, your unprocessed insecurities, and your burning desire to give up and return to the comfort of the crowd. And that's where the real test begins. Because what will most people do when faced with this level of psychological nakedness? They will run back to the herd as fast as possible. They will hide again behind their social masks. They will pretend they don't see what they see, don't feel what they feel, don't know what they know about their own potential. But you, if you truly want to develop mental strength that shocks people, will have to stay in that desert. You will have to endure the silence that reveals who you really are beneath all the social conditioning. You will have to face the parts of yourself that you've been avoiding your entire life. Nietzsche wrote, "The individual must always struggle not to be overwhelmed by the tribe. If you try, you will often feel lonely and sometimes scared. But no price is too high to pay for possessing yourself." That is the essence of shocking mental strength, the complete possession of yourself. When you truly possess yourself, your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions, your choices, no one else can control you. No one else dictates your worth. No one else can bring you down, manipulate you, or make you doubt your own reality. You become psychologically sovereign, and that sovereignty is what shocks people who have never experienced it themselves. The war against mediocrity. But this journey towards shocking mental strength doesn't just involve personal growth and solitude. As you become stronger, you inevitably encounter what Nietzsche considered one of the greatest threats to human potential: collective mediocrity. Nietzsche didn't fear tyrants, authoritarian leaders, or declared oppressors. What he feared and denounced with philosophical fury was the subtle, corrosive power of collective mediocrity. That invisible system that keeps everyone leveled down, that punishes those who dare to think differently, that rewards conformity and disguises cowardice as virtue. True tyranny, according to Nietzsche, doesn't come from above through force. It comes from the sides through peer pressure. It comes from the crowd that demands you remain small so they don't have to face their own potential for growth. And that is exactly what happens when you start to stand out mentally and emotionally. When your mind becomes sharper, your principles firmer, your presence more confident, you begin to disturb others not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're doing something rare. You're refusing to accept limitations that others have accepted as permanent. Collective mediocrity cannot tolerate individual excellence because that excellence exposes the comfortable darkness of ordinary thinking. Your mental strength becomes an unwelcome mirror that reflects others' mental weakness back to them. Your refusal to bend shows them how much they've been bending unnecessarily. Nietzsche called this phenomenon slave morality, a moral system created by those who, unable to achieve greatness themselves, decided to invert all values. They transformed strength into arrogance, ambition into selfishness, independence into coldness, and confidence into narcissism. They created a social framework that protects weakness and condemns strength. But make no mistake, this isn't done out of compassion or genuine concern for others. It's done out of what Nietzsche called resentment, deep-seated resentment toward those who demonstrate that limitations are often chosen rather than imposed. The weak don't want to be lifted up. They want the strong to be pulled down. They don't want to grow. They want you to shrink. They don't want to heal their own insecurities. They want you to become insecure so they feel more comfortable with their own weakness. That's why when you start to liberate yourself mentally and emotionally, they begin to attack. Sometimes directly, sometimes through subtle undermining, but always with the same message. Come back down to our level. Stop making us feel small by being strong. Mediocrity doesn't attack with obvious force. It attacks with numbers, with consensus, with the overwhelming weight of everyone thinks and everyone believes. It will try to make you doubt yourself for not fitting in. It will use shame, exclusion, and social pressure to make you question whether you're wrong for refusing to accept what everyone else accepts without thinking. This is the moment when many people give up on building real strength. They cannot bear to be seen as arrogant, difficult, or antisocial. They want to be liked more than they want to be strong. They want to belong more than they want to become. But your difference is not a problem to be solved. It's the spark of transformation. Your refusal to accept limitations is not arrogance. It's the engine of progress. Your mental strength is not coldness. It's the fire that burns away everything false and weak, the arsenal of shocking strength. You've made it this far, and that already sets you apart from the majority. Most people would have stopped reading at the first challenging idea. They would have rejected these concepts the moment they realized this isn't content designed to make them feel comfortable about staying exactly where they are. But you're still here because something inside you recognizes the truth in what Nietzsche discovered, that building mental strength so powerful it shocks people is not just a personal choice. It's a complete transformation of how you relate to reality itself. This transformation comes with costs that must be honestly acknowledged. You will lose friendships that were based on mutual weakness rather than genuine connection. You will lose opportunities that require you to compromise your principles or dim your light to make others comfortable. You will lose the ability to be content with mediocrity, small talk, and surface-level living. But in exchange, you gain something that no external force can ever take away from you: complete psychological sovereignty. You develop what the ancients called an inner citadel, a fortress of the mind that remains unshaken regardless of external circumstances. This fortress is built through specific practices that forge unshakable mental strength. First, complete self-honesty. You must be willing to see yourself clearly without the comforting filters of self-deception. This means acknowledging your fears, your weaknesses, your self-sabotaging patterns, and your unconscious motivations without judgment, but also without excuses. Second, value creation. Instead of adopting others' values wholesale, you must consciously choose or create your own. What do you stand for when no one is watching? What principles guide your decisions when there's no social pressure to conform? This is where shocking strength begins, in the courage to live by your own standards. Third, emotional sovereignty. You must learn to feel your emotions without being controlled by them. This doesn't mean becoming emotionless. It means developing the ability to experience anger without acting destructively, sadness without becoming paralyzed, fear without being stopped, joy without losing perspective. Fourth, intellectual independence. You must develop the courage to think thoughts that others find uncomfortable, to question beliefs that others consider sacred, to see possibilities that others consider impossible. This intellectual fearlessness is what allows truly strong minds to break new ground. Fifth, strategic patience. You must develop the ability to work toward long-term goals without needing immediate validation or results. The truly strong plant trees whose shade they may never enjoy, build foundations for structures they may never see completed. This mental strength doesn't come from outside sources. It cannot be taught through self-help books or earned through positive affirmations. It is forged in the silence of difficult nights, in choices that no one sees, in the daily practice of choosing growth over comfort, truth over popularity, strength over the easy path. The result is something that genuinely shocks others precisely because it cannot be understood by those who remain mentally dependent. Your presence becomes a kind of authority that doesn't need to announce itself. Your silence carries more weight than others' speeches. Your absence is felt more powerfully than many people's presence. Your declaration of strength. Nietzsche didn't want to create followers. He wanted to provoke internal revolutions. He wanted you to stop seeking approval from others and start building something so authentically powerful that it transforms not just your own life, but creates ripples of possibility for everyone around you. He wanted you to become dangerous, not in a violent sense, but in a transformational sense. So rare, so authentic, so unshakably strong that your mere existence forces others to confront what they've been avoiding in themselves. And now, I want to invite you to take a concrete step that will solidify this transformation process. In the comments below, share one truth you've been afraid to voice. One belief you've been hiding, one aspect of your authentic self that you've kept suppressed because you were afraid of others' reactions. This is not about being controversial for its own sake. This is about practicing the muscle of authenticity, of standing in your truth even when it's uncomfortable, of declaring that you will no longer bend your reality to fit others' expectations. If this video has awakened something within you, if you feel that stirring of recognition, that call toward a stronger version of yourself, I'd be grateful if you'd hit that like button and subscribe to join others on this journey of building unshakable mental strength. Your support helps spread these ideas to people who desperately need to hear them. The next video will take this exploration even deeper, showing you the practical steps to begin this transformation immediately. If you've made it this far, you know you're not watching out of casual curiosity. You're here because something inside you has already begun to change, already begun to demand more than the comfortable weakness that society offers as normal. Keep going. You're not alone in this journey. You're just ahead of the crowd. And that position, while sometimes uncomfortable, is also where all real transformation begins. The weak live at the mercy of circumstances. The strong create circumstances that serve their vision. The shocking have transcended the need for circumstances to validate their worth. Which will you choose to become?